Yeah.
Hey everybody, it's the Rob and Mike Show. I am Rob.
I'm Mike.
All right. Today we are talking about sports and disability. And I think it's a great topic because there are a lot of reasons why people with disabilities can get involved in sports. One is obviously the competition. And the competition, I can tell you from experience, is just as intense as it is with the able-bodied, okay? But another reason is also for exercise. A lot of people with disabilities, depending on the seriousness of your disability, you may not be able to get all the exercise that you'd like to get. Right? This is a great way to get exercise and stay in shape. Another thing is just the fun, okay? And just to meet new people. Because when you go to events and you're involved in competition and things of that nature, you can meet a whole new group of people, make friends, and just have a great way of having fun, okay? I think that, in my experience at least, getting involved in sports does two things, okay? It promotes disability awareness. Secondly, it automatically raises people's self-esteem. And Mike, you know this as well as anybody. People with disabilities often have problems with self-esteem because they've been told all their lives they can't do this and they can't do that.
But that's absolutely true. Yeah, or you know, either you can't do it, or internally you realize that you can't do the things that maybe you did prior.
That's
to
right.
Exactly. Now, me and Rob both are in a situation where we played some form of sport prior to our accident. You know, some people have a disability from birth, so we can't really attest to that.
Yeah.
But for us who played something prior to our disability and then trying to get back involved in it later, it just, you know, internally it's very humbling. When you can't do something as well as you did it before. Not that I was great at anything, you know, I played soccer and basketball growing up, along with a lot of other, you know, dabbled in every sport for the most part. But then you get to the point where it just doesn't happen anymore.
Well, I'm Exhibit A for that because before my injury, I was injured when I was 19 years old, and prior to that, we had a table tennis table in my basement. And I used to love to play with my brothers. I learned from them, and it was so much fun. I got to the point where I was participating in regional events around the area. But then my injury happened, and I tried to play again, and I was right-handed, and I had some movement in my right hand. But I remember a guy from the rehab sitting down in a chair. At first I'm thinking, why are you sitting, man? I don't need you to sit. You need to stand up and play me the way I played before. And even sitting down, he would hit it to one side, and I could barely get the ball back. And I was really depressed. I'm thinking, man, this sport that I love to play, I'm never going to be able to play it again. But then I went to Edinburgh, and they had a disability sports program called the Rolling Scots. And it was fantastic because they taught me that, hey, I could still maybe do this if I tried hard enough and played and long enough and practiced and trained and all of that stuff. So I started playing and I got better and better and better and realized I could still do this. So I got involved in a regional event at Columbus, Ohio, and I qualified for the Nationals, which that year happened to be in Edinburgh, so it was really convenient. And I did okay the first year, but the second year, the Nationals were at Hofstra University on Long Island, New York. And I pulled some upsets, and I ended up qualifying for the World Games in Brisbane, Australia. And I was like ecstatic. Now I'm thinking, wow, I'm going to participate in an international event. Now, if you're going to fly to Australia, okay, stop in Hawaii, rest a couple of days, and then take the rest of the trip. But I didn't have that option. But anyway, it was fantastic. I made it all the way to the Paralympics in both 88 and 92. It was in Seoul, Korea in 88, and then 92 was Barcelona. Now, the Paralympics, a lot of people get these mixed up with the Special Olympics and the Olympics, okay? The Paralympics is really like the Olympics for people with physical disabilities. And
right, we actually had you might remember him, Trey Von Jennifer.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
an employee here at CRI.
Sure.
Years ago, he was he was a gold medalist on the Paralympic men's basketball team.
Yeah.
In Brazil, I believe.
yeah,
But yeah, he was, he's quite an athlete. So I know what you're talking, when you're talking about the Paralympics, maybe physically we can't do what somebody in the Olympics is doing, but I'll tell you what, they are just as great of athletes.
oh, it's tremendous. I mean, I was a sport, as I said in a previous podcast, I was a sports reporter for a website called halftheplanet.com. And I had the honor of going to Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, and watching the Final Four of wheelchair basketball. It is unbelievable. I think a lot of people think that, well, it's wheelchair basketball, so they must lower the hoops. No, they don't lower anything.
You don't get it done.
That's right, yeah. But they have regulation three-pointers. They don't move it in. Okay, so can you imagine standing at the three-point or sitting at the three-point line and making a regulation three-pointer? Imagine how much strength that takes.
There's no leg.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
I was in rehab down in Harborville. There was a guy, I watched him, and I couldn't play basketball. I was just a hand dexterity. I couldn't hold the ball well enough to shoot it, which is very frustrating because I grew up playing basketball. But this guy, John Sikora, you might know John.
I know John.
He sat at mid-court and was just shooting and draining through half-court shots like it was nothing. This guy was
they're big,
big. And I thought, man, people jumping into those shots have a hard time making those shots.
Sure.
As smooth as could be.
Well, they had guys who were bilateral amputees, and the speed that they could go up and down that court, and they'd fly out of their chairs, and very seldom did they need anyone to pick them up and put them back in the chair. They would just go like this.
Jump off their arms.
Go back in and it was just unbelievable. And it's not just, and I don't mean to say that it's just wheelchair sports. Sports is for anybody, people who are blind, people who are deaf, okay? And there's a lot of adaptive equipment out there. Like, for instance, if your thing was archery, okay, but you don't have like the hand dexterity to do that, there's all kinds of adaptive equipment that can help you be competitive in archery. Absolutely, skiing. Yeah, quad rugby is another thing. There's a lot of sports out there that I don't even think people with disabilities are even aware that they can do.
For sure. Well, where does somebody go to find stuff like that?
Oh, sure. Well, for people in wheelchairs, it's the National Wheelchair Athletic Association, or NWAA. There's also the BSO, or Blind Sports Organization. There's also the USA DSF, or United States Deaf Sports Federation. Now, what these organizations, why they're so important is they can help you identify what sport you'd like to get involved in, and also fundraising, because unfortunately, you kind of have to go your own way in terms of raising your own money. But they can help you do that. They can also help you find regional events in your area that you can go and qualify for to go to the next level, nationals and hopefully beyond.
Right, and you know, kind of taking a step back from what Rob's talking about. He's talking about very competitive sports. There's also recreational sports.
Sure.
I'll give an example. Not that it's much of a sport, but I play bocce at a little Italian club here in Erie, where they get me on my buddies get me on the court, and we roll the ball. I mean, it's time spent with friends, making new friends.
Absolutely.
Just getting out into the community and doing things. Because I think I know we've mentioned this before, and everything we do here, I talk about community integration, the importance of community integration and peer relationships, and building those relationships getting out and doing things. You know, I've been involved in bocce. And other ways to get involved in sports is through coaching. I coached soccer for about 18 years, and I coached CYO basketball for 8 years. So it's one of those things that, you know, if you like working with kids and you like teaching the game that you know, if you're familiar with the game, then I think it's a great opportunity to stay involved. You might not be playing, but you're still involved. And that's what I think is important. Robin mentioned the Paralympics, the sports for visually impaired and hearing impaired. There's also the Special Olympics.
Right.
You know, we at CRI work with a broad range of disabilities, including intellectual disabilities. And Special Olympics are specifically designed for people with intellectual disabilities. I really urge you to, if you're watching this and you want to get involved in any type of coaching or want to get involved with people and helping people volunteer, they always are looking for volunteers for one or more of their sports. They're also, funding-wise, they're a nonprofit.
Right.
So they're always looking for people to help with funding. I know they just had, this past Saturday, they had a polar plunge down at the peninsula. They had about 500 people down the peninsula running into the water, and you know, just a great time, a great fundraiser, so that they can continue doing some of the activities that they provide for the young athletes up in this Northwest Pennsylvania region. So it's pretty awesome that they're able to do that. So you got Special Olympics, you got Paralympics, we've got sports for visually and hard of hearing, hard of vision and hard of hearing. So lots of opportunities for lots of people. So one of the things I think what we want to mention more than anything is get involved.
Well, the bottom line is there's something for everybody,
right?
Regardless of what your disability is. And there are opportunities you can get integrated with the able-bodied too.
Absolutely.
Like there's no reason.
Well, sure. Down there.
Sure. Or a bowling league.
Bowling.
You know, if you don't. Well, same here. But you can always. They have those. You know, those ramps where you put the ball on top. You know, that kind of thing. Or billiards. Billiards is another thing. I ran a billiards league when I worked here at CRI, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. One thing that I've always said is, and here's where you almost got stopped in your tracks by this. Don't be afraid to fail.
Right.
You're not gonna. I will never go out and do what I did prior to my accident as good as I did it. And it's very frustrating. And you want to say, that's it, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Never be afraid to fail and give it a second shot, because you're only going to, when you think about it, you played ping pong?
Table tennis.
Table tennis, all right.
Yeah.
And you kept getting better. And if you would have quit the time you didn't think you were any good, you never would have gotten to those
That's right.
That's you keep trying, you keep working. It's like any sport. Do you think the kid who steps on a basketball court for the first day thinks he's going to the NBA? Well, he thinks he is. They realize he's no good, but then he practiced. Michael Jordan didn't even make his JV basketball team.
Yeah.
So, you know, think about that and where he came to.
Jordan wasn't even picked first in the draft.
No.
Look how great he was.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So, you know, you just have to, you know, stick to it. That's one of the words I've used for a long, long time. And, you know, stick with things, see it out, work hard, practice, because you're not going to get anywhere without that stuff.
And just because you can't do it as well or as you did before doesn't mean the competition isn't just as intense among your group of peers, or that you're not having just as much fun doing it.
Yeah.
That's bottom line.
I think it's instilled in all of the competition is instilled in.
Sure it is.
The desire to be better than somebody else at something.
Yeah.
Compete with them and show your dominance. You know, like I said, I've always said, I mentioned already today, I played soccer growing up, I played basketball growing up. That changed to poker and bocce. Poker, maybe not a sport, even though they put it on ESPN, who knows how you.
It should be a sport. All gambling should be a sport, Mike.
Well, that's one I can't win.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think get involved. Rob, for all the reasons Rob said when we first started, get involved. Do something. If you're ever interested in getting involved in sports, you don't know where to start, you don't know how to find some of the places that Rob was mentioning a few minutes ago, call us here at CRI. Let us help you get involved.
Well, all these organizations are online. All you have to do is type in, if you typed in NWAA, the National Wheelchair Athletic Association, they're going to find the contact info, phone number, email, whatever it may be. I'm sure there's a phone number on there. You could just call somebody and say, hey, I live in wherever, Youngstown, Ohio, and I'm interested in getting involved in competitive sports. What do I do? And they'll hold your hand through the whole thing.
Absolutely. So you've got the competitive side, you got the recreational side.
Sure.
Just, if nothing else, do it to have fun.
That's right.
To have, like I said, recreational stuff is pretty important in our lives. Getting out, doing things, getting involved in the community.
Make new friends.
Amen to that. I like that idea. For sure.
Okay.
Well, I think we covered a lot of stuff there. That was
Yeah, we
a lot of people.
yeah.
A lot of sports are great. Our country seems to be centered around sports these days.
Yes.
With everything that's going on. They're the richest people in the country. So
Yeah, true. Did you want to make a?
But yeah, so I think we're done with that. One thing I do want to say I want to do a little addendum to what we talked about last month. We talked about the importance of having the opportunity to have attendant care. And for those of you who are on Medicaid waivers, the public health emergency is going to be coming to an end because of the COVID public health emergency. And everybody's going to be getting paperwork in the mail at some point in the near future to renew their Medicaid benefits. Please call us and ask us for assistance if you need help with that stuff. If you don't need help, you can do it on your own. Make sure you get it in a timely fashion, because the last thing you want is for those benefits that you have to expire. Because if they expire, then you could be out of luck for getting the services that you might need. So let's get that stuff in. I'm hoping next time we talk, maybe in December, I'll have an example envelope and paperwork here with me. So I'm going to do this again. I'll talk about this again.
Like we talked about before the show, I think that they might be sending them out in batches, because I've already got mine.
Right.
I sent them in. It was like I got it on a Monday, and it was due on a Friday. So I've already sent mine in.
Right. So basically, what could potentially happen is if you get the paperwork and you don't get it in by the date that it's due, they could cancel your services. So if you're somebody who is receiving attendant care, there's potential that those services will not be paid for. So the agency that you're using or the worker that you're using will not get paid for those services when they're waiting for that paperwork to come in. So best bet is to get it in.
Sure.
Get it submitted right. Make sure that you have documentation that it has been approved and you're able to move forward with your services.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well, that's Rob.
And that's Mike. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Right on. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you at some point right before Christmas.
All right. Take care.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Sorry, I blanked in the beginning, man. I was like, I lost my mind. I was like, can she edit that?
Got to end? We'll have to ask her when we go up.